Sitting here posted, waiting for this time to start clicking, so I know it's recording for real. Hallelujah. Mikhail Korban here, right back at you. Giving all praises and esteem to Elohim, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Elohim, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahuwah, to the master teacher, the king, the high priest, according to the order of Melchizedek, the prophet of prophets, Mashiach Yahushua ben Yosef, Bar Dawid, and to the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit. All praises and esteem is offered unto them, first and foremost. This is just going to be a brief refutation. I got a text message from a family member of mine about a pastor in Kansas City who mischaracterized the movement by, I guess you could say, lumping everyone into a monolithic ideology. And I don't know if it was a direct response to myself. It appeared to be as such. I've had several pastors in the local Kansas City area attempt to refute or to expose, as they would like to say, or call it, the Israelite movement, and not really have a sound understanding of said matters. And this particular pastor wanted to state that, one, we followed a man by the name of Yahweh ben Yahweh, which is an error. We don't follow him. That's not what our camp does. Two, we're angry at Christians, which is not true. We are actually sympathetic towards our brothers and sisters who happen to identify religiously as Christians. And perhaps a few other statements that were made just completely out of ignorance. No other way to put it, out of ignorance. And so, addressing first and foremost this Yahweh ben Yahweh matter, and I respect to each of the camps, and there's a plethora of Israelite camps that have proliferated in the past, you could really say 4, 5 decades, maybe even 6. Well, it goes back really to the late 1800s in America, definitively. When you go back to Prophet F.S. Cherry, you have William Saunders Crowdy. F.S. Cherry was out of Philadelphia. Crowdy was actually out of Oklahoma and Kansas. And so there was a consciousness of Israelite heritage amongst so-called African Americans that go back to the late 19th century. And so from that point, consciously, the growth of different Israelite camps has, like I said, proliferated throughout this nation. It is perhaps the fastest growing movement that is taking off. And what's so deep about it is that, by and large, most Israelites understand that this is not a religious movement. It is a nationalist movement. We are a nation of people. And as such, yes, we do have several individuals who are in the front of leadership, but the articulation of leaders comes from several different individuals. However, for my group of thought and school of thought, we follow Yahushua, Mashiach Yahushua. We follow him, and we follow Yah. Now, in following Mashiach Yahushua, let me clarify this: we are following Torah. We are following the Torah at its highest level of manifestation and at its most intimate level of understanding, which is revealed in none other than Mashiach Yahushua, who became the Word made flesh. And so we are Torah observant, and we are not uh, iconoclastic, and that means we do not follow, or we are iconoclastic actually, we are iconoclast, but we are not an iconic people by and large, but there are some camps that do have such matters. Uh, but we have several different expressions and different articulations, which we're working on unifying and harmonizing. But if you are not aware of the different schools, it would behoove you to keep your mouth shut, you know, as opposed to have someone show up at your doorstep and put you in your place and correct you, and possibly even embarrass you before your congregants, to whom you are already lying. And so our qualm with Christendom is not with the Christians who are worshiping. Our problem is with the institution and the clergy who are misleading. That is our qualm. That is our issue. That is our source of angst. Very much so. We're very disturbed and disgruntled over the reality of the blatant deception that has taken place within our so-called peculiar institution, or excuse me, the hidden institution, and our most cherished institution in North America, in our North American experience, being the black church, which at one time was more aligned with the truth. But of course, it got appropriated, it got assimilated, it got infiltrated, and it got watered down. But I guarantee you, when you look at the early AME movement, and you look at Richard Allen and his contributions to the liberation of our people, he was not compromising nor telling lies. But according to his knowledge, he was sharing the truth which he was able to perceive at that time. You can also say the same for the Nat Turners. You could look at the Frederick Douglasses. But particularly, let's go to Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, and Denmark Vesey, the leaders in some different enslaved African rebellions against an oppressive institution. They were very spiritually focused and very grounded in the understanding and consciousness of Israelite ancestry. That is without question. That is recorded and documented. They identified with the children of Israel not only by experience, but by heritage. They identified that we are those people. They understood that. So today, contrary to that reality, we have these 501c3 nonprofit churches who are bound by our IRS regulations to not teach certain doctrines and to withhold certain information. And you can try to finagle around that, but it has even come on a YouTube video by which the former mayor and now Senator Emmanuel Cleaver was going around local churches in Kansas City saying what churches can and cannot say based on the IRS regulations, which they are bound to adhere based on their contractual agreement with the government through the 501c3 nonprofit status, tax exempt status, which they hold. And so any church that is 501c3, let's just be straight up, is not telling the truth. I have a qualm with that. That makes me angry. That makes me angry. not to the point where, you know, any rash or ill motive type of actions are going to be done. But we expose those things. We are a peaceful people, but our aroused state, our zeal becomes that much more prominent when these Judas goats want to slander a movement that they have no understanding of. One, because they've only been given the propaganda from their handlers and their controllers and their masters, who they seeking permission to be a functional and viable organization, not an organism, a functional organization under the auspices of Uncle Sam. Pretty much it. And so, you know, it's just a shame that these men of the cloth, and even these women of the cloth, have continued to regurgitate the same messages over and over and over and over and over. And then you look at the condition of our people, and you just have to wonder, what is taking place inside this so-called house of God? Well, I would also throw in the question, whose God or whose house, or what is the God of that house? That's the question I'm trying to get to. What is the God of that house? Because that is not the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I can assure you that. How do you know that? Because if you love the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you will be keeping his commandments. And this is even established in the New Testament, of which Christians don't understand. Why don't they understand it? Because they don't understand the Torah. How are you going to understand the end of a book if you don't even understand or do what's in the beginning of the book? So not understanding the beginning of the book automatically disqualifies you from truly understanding the end of the book. It's impossible. You can't divide the word rightfully and righteously when you're in error and when you are following traditions that have nothing to do with the culture from which it arose. When you transplant the fruit or a life from one environment to another, it's going to adapt to the environment that it has found itself. And as a result of that adaptation, some of the characteristics are going to automatically change. And so what has happened with the heritage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, after 70, the Romans completely divorced the heritage and the knowledge and the covenants from the people of Israel to these Westerners. And by so doing, they actually changed the characteristics of it for the worse, for the purpose of a politically expedient move of securing their kingdom, which is the Roman Empire. Okay, the Holy Roman Empire has now taken on the guise of Christianity. And so, yeah, I'm very upset with Christianity for the lies that it tells and the misrepresentation and the erroneous depictions of Israelite culture. And then you got pastors running off at the mouth talking about what this is who they are, and this is what they do, but you ain't got no clue. So that would not be wise. That would not be wise. Yeah. So there are individuals who do follow Yahweh ben Yahweh. There are individuals who follow Ben Ami ben Yehuda. But I guarantee you this, what they have done in their uh, society, respective societies, it is much more uh, scripturally based than that which the Christian church has espoused, even though they have made some mistakes of elevating man to a position of which that man should not have been elevated. Now, that's where some things get kind of caught up. Uh, so, I just really find it almost comical for these so-called learned men to make such blanket statements without really being able to qualify what it is that they're talking about. We need to make sure that if we're speaking on an issue, we're able to really back it up with facts. I mean, we have to. We have to be historically based. We have to be scholarly in our approach, in our research. And we have to make sure that we tackle the matter objectively and not subjectively. Just because you may have a threat of losing members to your assembly because of an awakening of consciousness about a heritage that has been stripped from us as a people, you want to go on a diatribe and start talking negatively about this national reality that is inevitable to come and to bring light to the world. Whose side are you on, pastor, reverend? Whose side are you on? The truth cannot be hidden. It cannot be covered. It cannot be suppressed. Righteousness will be declared from the peak of Mount Zion and will spread throughout this earth. And the harbingers of this message will be none other than the children of Israel, Hebrew Israelites. That's who's going to do it. It's written. It's in the Word. That whole book, from Genesis to Revelation, it's not speaking about Christians. It doesn't talk about Christians. It doesn't talk about a Christian salvation. It talks about a national redemption of a people who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, who will then touch the Gentiles and become a light to these people and bring them to Yah and the culture that Yah has given them in order to become a kingdom of priests and a set-apart nation, or a holy nation, through the obedience of the word, which is the Torah, the law, which so many Christians say is done away with, and the faith in Mashiach Yahushua, which is not just believing in him, but is becoming him, becoming the word made flesh as well. So I hope you get this message. I pray you get this message. You got a mega church, and you got a lot of people in your congregation that you're lying to. And that's dangerous. Woe to those who desire to be teachers. The recourse of your teachings and your error will not only lead your congregation to the lake of fire, but it will also lead them to the second death. And if you're willing to continue to propagate misinformation and blatant falsehood and lies, well, go right ahead. But know that that judgment, which will come from the saints of the Most High, will be without mercy. It will be without mercy. You see, we understand things a little bit, a lot differently than what your Western teachers have taught, because we return to the mindset of our ancestors, who were the ones who received the revelation of this book. And we have returned to our language and our culture And as a result of that, we are putting these puzzle pieces back together and recontextualizing the truth of this word. And on top of that, we're manifesting prophecy. We're bringing things to pass based on our obedience to the commandments, which causes us to do the right things at the right place and at the right time. That, my friend, is prophecy. That is understanding the word and applying it. So, Pastor, I'm a available person to speak with. I actually know someone who left your congregation because of the business that was being ran there. And that business was not Abba's business. It was not the business of the kingdom of heaven. Shall I say the kingdom of heaven within us? It was the business of corporate America. It's a shame. It's a shame. Anytime you see a mass gathering of people, I would suggest going the other way, because scripture tells us that there's a remnant that is being sought after, a called out people. So you got these large flocks of sheep being led to the slaughter by this Judas goat. That's dangerous.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Nous
Very,
invitons les tout
very
derniers passagers à
dangerous.
destination de nos bagages à France.
So I just want to drop that off, put that in the air. I hope you get this message again. You can respond and notify me if you do. And we can definitely set up an arrangement to speak if that is something that would be efficacious or effectual or effective for you. If not, hey, I pray for your teshuvah. I pray for your repentance. I pray that you turn back to the Most High and you lead your camp and your congregation, those hundreds of, maybe even thousands of people that you have ministerial responsibilities with, to the truth. If not, woe unto you, you hireling shepherd. So let's get this together. We as a people are hurting. We've been oppressed for too long. And our salvation and our resurrection is at hand. It is nigh. But it is dependent upon our repentance and return to the word in spirit and in truth. So let that marinate, let that sink in. I pray that the words that have been spoken have been to the esteem of Abba Yah. I'm just a messenger. And it's time to stop playing. It's time to stop lying. We got all kinds of lies spreading, even in Israel. We got false places of worship being propped up by people who are seeking for material gain and profit and comfort and esteem and glory, their own glory. But I remember my master telling his students, his disciples, if you lift up the Son of Man, you shall draw all men unto him. I don't want to draw anyone to myself, because I'm still working out my salvation with fear and trembling. So if you're drawing people to yourself and your message and not truly giving Yah's word, as the master teacher himself said, that his teaching was not his own, but him who sent him, which was the Torah, because all that he spoke was according to his Father's word, and his Father's word is most expressly revealed in the words of Moshe. So if you don't believe the words of Moshe, how you gonna believe my words, he said. But I bet you ain't teaching out the words of Moshe. I bet you can't even touch on the words of Moshe in truth. So it's time to stop playing. This goes for myself. This goes for any and all who come across this. Stop playing. Tell the truth. Especially you have access to it. In all them years that you got inseminated in the seminary with the doctrines of Baal and the teachings of the great harlot, you got exposed to some truth too. It should have caused you to dig deeper and not just accept what was on the surface. Those are the true disciples of the Most High. Those are the true servants. Remember, the greatest among us should be those who are least. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. So if you're not truly serving your people, if you're not truly humbling yourself, you need to really recalibrate your trajectory because it's off. So I'm going to leave that there. I know I keep talking. Sometimes things just come over, but I'm going to leave that there. If I have to get some scriptures out, it's going to be real bad for you. I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully, you know, there's some things that we can work out if you feel the need and so compelled to talk about something that you really don't know about. Why don't you have someone that you can get some information from give you that? Get off YouTube. Get off YouTube. Go to the land of Israel and visit some brothers and sisters in the land and see what they're about before you open your mouth presumptuously. Not wise. Not wise. So I'm going to leave that there. Take it how you want it. You may even have to report it to your agents. So be it. I know who my L is. So, hey, let's move one way or the other. Prayerfully, we move in the right direction together as a people. Y'all is to be praised, y'all is to be esteemed, y'all is to be sanctified, y'all is to be honored. That is where my praise and honor goes. Hallelujah. Signing off. Shalom alaikum.